watching the Bethel College Football Show.
Shire in at QB, throws the outline. It's jumped by Trey Palmer. He's going to take it for a pick six. Touchdown, Bethel. He catches it in midfield. Braden Francis from 91 yards from Zach Esau.
Now here's your host, Dan Page, with football coach Terry Harrison.
Welcome to the Thresher Football Show. I'm Dan Page, that's Coach Terry Harrison. In case you forgot who we are, I mean, we did take a week off. But seriously, though, we're glad that you could tune into this week's program, getting ready as the Threshers get set to take on Tabor College in their final home game, senior day activities. We'll talk about that later in the show. But the Threshers get a big victory on the road this last week against Sterling. It was 42-21 victory. Never an easy place to get a win, and the Threshers do a great job against the Warriors and improved to 7-1 on the year, and now number 11 in the NAIA polls. Coach, there for a while, it was 7-7 in that first quarter. It was kind of like battling it out, and once you guys kind of figured things out at halftime, you got to turn the things around a little bit.
Yeah, it was one of those deals. They did a really good job, or at least I'm assuming what their game plan was. They limited possessions, right? They really ran the ball, more than they have all year as far as in one half. And so that's kind of what happens, right? We had limited possessions. So I think we ended up having three possessions in the first half, and they had the same or something like that. But it was very just that clock melted away, and it just really limited possessions in the first half. And, we were able to do some really good things. And I felt like defense, we had some missed opportunities and some penalties that sustained drives for them, which, you don't like to see as a coach. But, it's kind of one of those things, how the game played out. And then kind of like you mentioned, once we kind of saw what they were doing, they had changed some things up a little bit. Man, able to go in at half, and, man, to watch Coach Kemp and those defensive coaches at halftime, it's not something you really see, if you're just watching the game or happen to watch them, as a fan. But, man, to see the little tweaks they had to make to some of the things that Sterling was doing, man, to see that happen in the way they came out the second half and, just played so well on defense, I think that to me was probably the most impressive thing of the game. And then offensively, we were able to get down and score, get those guys down. Then they had to kind of abandon their plan to just to milk the clock and make the game as short as possible. They started putting the ball in the air, which kind of played to our strengths, and we were able to get some turnovers. So, it was one of those deals we had to be patient, but then, it kind of worked out the way we thought maybe it could, even though it took, the first half kind of happened the way it did. So, man, we're really proud of the way, defense played, especially the second half, coming out and getting turnovers. And like I said, just Coach Kemp, Coach Markham, Coach Kurt, and Coach Denton, just the adjustments they made at halftime was unbelievable, and it really showed. And then the other side, Sterling just wasn't able to overcome that. So, really good game, especially after that 3-game stretch we had.
Absolutely. I got a chance to see those guys working together. Cool as the on the other side of the pillow, they're just getting collectively talking about schemes and everything before they address the team. So it was kind of cool to watch that as well. But the Threshers, their first score came from Mason Murray, and that made it a 7-7 football game going into the second quarter. You guys able to get a couple more scores on a Chance Scurry touchdown run and then a touchdown pass to Mason Murray for a touchdown. So you guys went up 21-14 going into the half, and then you came out in the second half, went up 28-14, then gave up a score, and it was just kind of one of those things that there for a second when it was a one-score game, it almost seemed like a gut check moment for you guys.
Yeah, we had some really crucial down and distances there, and our scenarios, where we got to that one-score game. I think we ended up punting. With a one-score game, we kind of pinned them back a little bit, and that's when Brennan was able to, get that pick six because they were in a weird down distance. So that was really cool. That change of events was pretty much the game, or at least what it felt like. Where we score, go up 2 scores, they score. We're on offense. We have to punt the ball. We pin them back with a great punt, great coverage, and then they get behind the chains and they had to throw the ball, and man, Brennan was able to make just a great, just such a natural read of the quarterback and the way he broke on that ball. It looked like he was throwing it to him, and that was it just speaks to, it looks like the guy threw it right to him, but it's all because of the way Brennan played that ball. And man, to see him, he's played so well this year, and to see that get rewarded with a pick and then obviously a defensive score that was really cool. And we had some other guys come in and play in the second half. Trey went down with some cramping, and so Roderick came in. Roderick Edwards out of Houston came in, and he got a pick. And so just a great half, and it felt like that was kind of the tide kind of turned there. And we were able to kind of get rolling. And so I felt like, that was good. DJ did an awesome job. You get in this weird spot where we're up a couple scores and, you're on the road. We're at the end of this 3-game stretch. It's like, okay, let's run the ball. Just kind of get out of here and call it a day. And then, they kind of challenged us as a defensive staff to throw the ball. And you can't do that with our receivers and our running backs, our slots specifically, and the way DJ's playing right now. Like you have to honor the passing game. And so for us, it was a decision. If they're going to do that, let's take advantage of it. And I thought Coach Reed and Coach Kelly did an amazing job of seeing that. And then we made them pay through the air. And so that's the nature of trying to defend us. We're the nation's #1 rushing attack at any level, from whatever the biggest school is all the way down. And so you have to decide what are you going to do. And if you commit all your kids to that, we have the ability to go over the top and score. So it makes for interesting Saturdays, and it's kind of unique because you never know until you get out there. And I thought our coaches did a great job of that, and then obviously DJ did a good job of putting the ball where it needed to be. And so, man, really proud of him, and got a little beat up and did some tough guy stuff as far as playing through a little bit of pain. And so, couldn't be more proud of a kid in that regard.
Absolutely, and kind of just getting to the specifics within that, as far as statistics and touchdowns, things like that. Mason Murray ends up with 4 touchdowns on the day, 2 that he ran for. He had the first score out of the second half for you guys, and then he caught a touchdown later in the fourth quarter. That was pretty big for you guys as well. And then Philip Williams was the other one that got a receiver. 3 interceptions on them in the second half, which was really important. That really puts you guys up into the top tier of defenses in the country, no doubt, because of a few different categories. You have Trey, he's 3rd in the nation in interceptions and interception yardage, and then you guys are, I think, at least top 10, maybe top 5 in interceptions as a defense. So that's tremendous. And then you look at tackles for loss, you have Josh Siebold's leading the country in tackles for loss at 22 right now, and the yardage that is associated with that as well. And then sacks, he's in that conversation as well. So you guys, you talked about the leading rushing attack in any college level. It's really balancing out. Yeah, no, it's really cool. That's kind of, when we implemented this defense, we're coming off of COVID and that long break we had, and Coach Kemp and I, when we made that big decision, hey, we're going to do this, and it's bizarre as far as what it looks like is not being, it's being pretty unique defense. What we wanted to be is #1 in the country in turnovers, #1 in tackles for loss and sacks, or at least be in that conversation, as far as that goes. And so, man, think about that. What we try to do is create pressure on the other team, and we do that by, we run the ball the way we're able to, and just milk the clock, as we march down the field. And then on defense, the pressure that our defensive line and linebackers apply with how aggressive our secondary is, it makes for a pretty stressful game for another team to prepare for. And so when we see ourselves in those stats, you can kind of sway stats to make them say what you want them to say. But we definitely want to be in that conversation of top in rushing, top in passing efficiency, and then also sacks, turnovers, tackles for loss, and those things. And we think if we can do that, we're going to be really hard to beat for anyone on a Saturday, and we're going to give ourselves a chance. And so when you add those things with our team culture and how tough our kids are and how resilient they are, man, if we have a chance in the fourth quarter and there's some pressure scenarios, we at least hope that's going to set us up for, like Phil, Roderick, and B, those guys, those interceptions they've got that's connected to the pressures. And so, man, really cool to see, when you have a plan and a philosophy, to see that when it's embraced by the players as much as it is in our entire program, to see that, come to fruition and play out on Saturdays is, it's as rewarding as as a thing I've ever been a part of as a coach. And so, those are definitely the scenarios we have right now, and really proud of our kids and coaches as far as where we're at. So pretty cool. Absolutely. Get a win on the road at Sterling, and they now have 3 losses to you, Southwestern, and I believe Kansas Wesleyan. So, if you're from their side of things, that's still not a bad season. They're still a good team, capable of some good things as well, and a potential top 4 or 5 finish. So the Threshers moved to 7-1 on the season and number 11 in the latest NAIA polls. We keep paying attention to that because of playoff implications. You have Kansas Wesleyan at either 5 or 6, I think, right now, and then Southwestern at number 15. So it's just kind of an interesting hunt to keep alive for the Thresher football team, and so we'll keep an eye on that as well. The Threshers still have a few games left in the conference slate. But one thing I did want to say really quickly before we wrap up the first segment of the show, if you're interested in learning about how the Threshers on football, brought in this defense, I had a great conversation with Coach Paul Kemp earlier this week on our Facebook Live monthly show for the athletic department that we have at Pizza Hut. And we got into some really good terms as far as, what specific things, why do we hear you say party on the field all the time? And I really love that conversation. So if you want to revisit that, it's on Facebook platform. If you don't have Facebook, just let me know. Maybe we can get you a copy of that as well. But it was really good philosophy, really interesting defensive conversation about, could we see more colleges and high schools around the country adapt to that style of defense? So you're a scheme guy as well. So I mean, you kind of see a lot of different things, but with the patterns with coaching. Yeah,
it's you definitely should check that out. And Coach Kemp is certainly. He has taken that and run with it, and it's probably, it's not crazy to say, while we run on offense, we're pretty unique, but there's probably 6 of us across the country that are doing it at a decent level. I think arguably we're doing it better than anyone, but certainly what Coach Kemp is doing, he is the only person doing it at any level of any college program in the country, and so it makes us, very unique. And so to hear him talk about that would definitely be something someone should check out, because it is, it's not something you see on Friday nights or that you most likely played in. And so, it makes it pretty unique, but no, it's, will other people adopt it? People ask us all the time, like, what are we doing? And it's really hard to explain unless you come experience it. So that's kind of the hard part about that. But, we have people asking us about it all the time, and that's certainly a compliment to our players because they execute it so well, and our coaches. But, like anything in football, there is no perfect offense, there is no perfect defense. What makes it perfect is when everybody's on the same page and there's belief, from top to bottom in what we're doing. And so that's what makes it special for us. But Coach Kemp has done an amazing job, and they have their own unique culture on our defense and the way they embrace hard things and challenges. And so, to get to talk to him was pretty cool because, he was the conference assistant coach of the year, deservingly so. And we've coached together for like 9 years now. So, man, we've kind of grown up together trying to figure this thing out. And so, it's been fun to watch. I'm proud of him, and so definitely check that out. And man, it was cool that you guys got to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was hoping he would maybe fill in last week. I don't know if we could take him the full half hour. We'd have to be a little cautious with that. Nonetheless, this is the Thresher Football Show. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Menno Bowl. It's Bethel versus Tabor at Thresher Stadium, 1:00 kick this week here for Bethel football. And when we come back, we'll talk about that football game here on the Thresher Football Show.
Thresher fans, get ready for the 2021-2022 school year by becoming a member of the Bethel Booster Club. Your membership impacts all athletic programs by paying for experiences last year, such as the Thresher's Award Show, postseason experiences and postseason tickets, the Hall of Fame banquet, enhanced live streaming equipment, windscreens at Thresher Stadium, improvements at Weedle Field and Ward Tennis Center, and new wall mats inside Thresher Gym. Be a part of Thresher Athletics history in a booster club that has grown 500% in the past 5 years, over 4 levels of membership plus a parent level. Join the Bethel College Booster Club today to help student athletes live out life-changing experiences. For more information, go to bethelks.edu/booster-club today.
Welcome back to the Thresher Football Show. Dan Page alongside head football coach Terry Harrison. Excuse me. Man, I got a frog in my throat there. So the Threshers taking on Tabor College in the Menno Bowl, 1:00 kick, Thresher Stadium this week, and should be a great game. Last home game of the year. So it should be a great crowd. Always is at Thresher Stadium. And then the Threshers are on the road for a couple weeks to wrap out the regular season, and who knows what after that. So, this one's pretty important, though, for some things that really maybe not, I don't know. You correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe not necessarily for X's and O's, but a lot of other things as well.
Yeah, it's always big for the community when you play Tabor, being another Mennonite school, and it's been a, I don't know if you want to call it rivalry or whatever you call it, but it's always a big game. They call it the Menno Bowl, and there's a lot of, community pride, and, some of the local churches, and the community members that know each other, and there's a lot at stake in that regard. So it's always a big deal, and, and even more than that, it is our senior day for our guys that have been 4-year guys, and so, man, to think about for me, we're filling out these senior forms, and to think about the journey those guys have been on. If you're new to our program, we won 9 games last year, 8 games the year before, but just a short while ago, we were 3-8 my first year. From 2017 before that, there was just a string of 1-win seasons, 2-win seasons, or 0-win seasons, and so. It's one of those deals you never, while you don't want to, thrive on that or point back to that too much, but, sometimes when the times are good, you can lose sight and forget how hard it was. And so what it makes me think about on senior day is just that, the commitment that these young men made that are seniors right now, and even the guys that have graduated before, those guys came here when there was, only hope that we could build something special and faith that we were going to do it together. And there was no real evidence that that was going to happen. And so for me, that's what's most important for everyone to remember. And, senior day, you can never say thank you enough. It's almost, senior days are hard because you can't wrap up all your feelings and what like kid like Seabold and Scurry and, guys like that, Landon, and those guys that have given so much to this program, Taj and Matt. For those guys to sum it all up in one sentence and one thank you is almost an injustice, but it's just it's a gesture. But for me, it's not lost sight on the fact that those guys came here when there was nothing other than a promise of, hey, we're going to try our best to build something truly special. And to know they've done that, it's a big day for me, and to see those guys, it'll be hard, because those are our guys, and we love them, and and I know they love each other, and so. It's always fun. So the Menno Bowl, being senior day, and then obviously, knowing that, hey, this last stretch, we just had a tough 3-game stretch, and we've got another 3-game stretch right now that is going to give us a chance to be a playoff contender, right? And we're right on that line. We're in a good spot now, but we got to make sure we play really well to give ourselves the best case possible to be a playoff team. And so, it's a big couple weeks. It should be beautiful out. I think the sun's supposed to be out. It should be really nice. And, just so proud of how far this team has come, how far this program's come, in the last, 4 years. And then, when you're having a game like Tabor as your last home game, it's a big deal. And I can tell you, we're going to give our best shot, because the time in our career here, since I've been here, when we've struggled against them, it's been self-inflicted probably. I don't necessarily know it's been anything they've done. And so if we can take care of ourselves and give this thing our best shot, which is always our challenge, right? Play our best. It should be a really fun day, and a great way to honor these guys that have been here and committed to this thing for so long.
Yeah, and a lot of those guys, there's one thing that I think that's really interesting. If you look at the grand scale of Bethel College football over the years, you'd be very scarce to find a chance for your guys to win this Saturday and have 3 seasons in a row with at least 8 wins. That would be significant. Not just for your tenure, but just for the college. You guys will be history makers in so many ways, because the consistency, and I think going out like that is something that every senior wants to do. That's what you want to accomplish, is be the best you can be, no matter what the circumstances are, and just leave a lasting legacy here. Because a lot of these guys, outside of you going and recruiting them, for this style of football and things, a lot of them didn't have connections to this college, and now they are part of something together that is honestly probably something that won't be replicated in their life again.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, that's the hope, right? We want to create this life-changing experience, or at least provide an opportunity for a life-changing experience for our guys. And, I haven't done the research on it because I don't do that very often, but, more than likely, maybe the winning, if they can finish out really well, could be the winningest class of football players in Bethel history. So we need to do the research on that, because it's definitely going to be in the top 3, right? If not the winningest class. And so, and more than that, and obviously I'm selfish in regards to our team and our players and our program, but you talk about a group of kids that have transformed an entire college campus as far as how it feels on campus, the climate on campus, the culture of our campus in a positive way that, winning creates more winning, and you see that spread across athletic department. And, while we're not doing the work, and we're not the basketball team, and those guys put in a ton of hours and work, but I think what our program has done is shown it can be done here at Bethel where no one maybe thought it could be. And so, that takes a mindset, a toughness, a courageousness for these guys, back when they were 17 and 18-year-olds that, maybe they didn't even know they had it themselves, but when they came here and they did this thing together, it's been fun to watch, and something we're certainly proud of for sure.
Absolutely. And so without further ado, let's get into the X's and O's football side of things. Obviously, last year's game, you guys went over to Hillsboro and had a very good football game, wrapped up a great season, or regular season, I should say, as far as with the conference championship. And then, of course, you played K-Dub after that. But, winning that victory over Tabor was important in the spring. It just felt so weird playing a spring football game that day. But you guys got the win, and you're right, Coach. I mean, you look at the history. It's, a couple years ago, it was tough beating them in North Newton, and without some self-inflicted things like fumbles inside the 5-yard line that a lot of people don't want to relive and things like that. But I mean, it's always been typically been a good football game with good crowds and everything. I mean, it doesn't matter if Bethel playing Tabor in any sport, it's usually a great crowd, especially here as well. So I think a lot of people were excited for it. But from what you've seen about Tabor leading up to this football game, what do you see?
They have that running back that they had that was a transfer last year from Black Hills State. I can't remember his number 4. I can't think of his name right now, but he's a very physical runner, hard to tackle. You have to really wrap him up to get him to the ground, or he can break tackles. They have a transfer quarterback that has a really good junior college film. He hasn't been necessarily as explosive here in our conference, but he's definitely a good player and has the potential to throw really good footballs. And so, man, if we could, those are really the two. All their receivers are good players, and so if we can limit those guys, especially that running back and quarterback, if we can limit them, that'd be really hard on their offense, which is going to be a huge challenge, by the way. They've scored on everybody they've played. They're averaging, I think, 28 points a game. And so, we're going to have to make sure maybe bend a little bit, not break, And if we give up a score on something because a guy throws a great pass, or maybe that running back breaks 7 tackles, you tip your hat and you just keep chopping away. And so that's kind of what we've seen from them. I think their O-line has improved tremendously. Defensively, a lot of similar kids back. They have had some injuries earlier in the season, but it feels like they've kind of settled in. Last year they ran 8 different defenses against us, so It's been a big mental prep week for us. And so our guys do an awesome job of preparing for multiple fronts every day. We really know what we're never going to get. But definitely with this team, we anticipate we're going to get somewhere between 5 and 10 defensive fronts. And so for us, if they're going to risk and gamble like that, maybe they pop us for a negative 2-yard or a 0-yard. But when they risk and they take so many gambles like that, we hope the potential for big plays is there on their defense.
Absolutely, Coach. As the Threshers gets ready to take on the Tabor College Blue Jays, 1 p.m. Thresher Stadium this week. It should be a great football game. Hope you can make it out. And I think there's some other Thresher athletics. I think volleyball is playing later in the night, so you can make it a Thresher Saturday if you want. But the Threshers and Tabor College should be a great one. If you can't make it, watch it on the KCAC network. I'll have the call. We'll start coverage just before 1 o'clock and to get that started. And so it's Bethel and Tabor this weekend. So it's always an interesting football game. You heard Coach talk about it. I want to go back to a point that Coach Kemp kind of brought up with me this week, Coach, about Tabor and some comparisons to your defense. They've been years where they'll be up in a 2-point stance and as far as defensive line goes and everything. And so that's kind of an interesting scheme. Was that one of the 8 that you really saw last year run against you guys? Yeah,
they did a little bit on some third downs for sure, and so I think with the it would be interesting to see if they truly want to do that for long, with the pad level that our offensive lineman plays at. So standing there in a 2-point would be pretty interesting. But they just move around and change fronts, and they move guys different, and they bounce around. They try to stem really late, so they may move a defensive end back to a linebacker in the middle of your snap count, and they're just trying to confuse your offensive line. They're trying to mess up your blocking schemes. And so I don't know. I think potentially if we get in a 3rd and long, which is definitely not within the plan, there's potential to see him prowling around a little bit, and imitation's the biggest form of flattery. So, it's when we saw him start doing that this year, trying to emulate our defense, we took that as a huge compliment to what Coach Kemp's been able to do. And, what's the saying, often imitated, never duplicated, right? They, while they don't do it at the level our guys does, it certainly is a compliment that they notice how effective our defense has been. So, it's a huge compliment from Coach Gardner to Coach Kemp about how well he's done. Absolutely,
and we all fully expect to see again depth be a thing against Tabor, like it was last year. In a lot of the games this season. Frankly, I mean, you guys just kind of proved something this year that it doesn't matter. Like you say that all the time, but you put your money where your mouth was there in that situation because. You guys have guys like Josh, Moran that come in at quarterback and step into that situation a couple weeks ago and lead you guys to a victory, a big victory over Avila. And people like to test that. I mean, a lot of some people call that coach speak when you say you have depth and things like that. But it's been great to see, both sides of the football just get guys in.
Yeah, I mean, look at what we did. Unfortunately, we didn't have that coaches show last week for different reasons. But man, we didn't get to talk about Josh Moran's great performance against Avila. But what a great story of a young man who's practiced hard every day and just hung in there and stuck in there. Even though it is frustrating not to play, which I get all the time. Like we get you want to play, but it's just sometimes your timing is everything, and so he came in and did such a great job. And we were so proud of him, and I know his family was certainly proud of him. They've been awesome Thresher fans since they've gotten here, out in California. And so for him to have that great game, it was really cool for me, man. My heart was just so excited for him to see him have that success and pay off. And he always had a long road to playing here. But then, so you mentioned that we played multiple quarterbacks, multiple slots like Tucker and Mario have been playing that you didn't necessarily expect early. And then look at defensively with Roger getting an interception, and Rob and Neely, guys like that are playing. And so, it's one of those deals. We coach everybody every day, and we develop our program, and that's probably what makes us unique in this day and age in college football. Is we do it, we recruit our own players, and we develop those guys over time. And to see that pay off and those guys to get out and play, man, it's a testament to the patience, commitment, and the investment that the families make in our program. And then even more than that, the commitment and the dedication that those players have shown to show up every day and just stay in the fight, because your day will come. And so that's been really cool to see for sure.
It definitely helps especially when teams in general in football battling injuries, when you know for a fact you're confident in that next guy up that has that ability. They are game proven type of people. That's something you need sometimes in the playoffs. And speaking of the playoffs, you guys get Tabor and then at St. Mary and at West Texas A&M. And then you get put in a situation where it's really unclear at this rate what you guys are going to do. So just to have that ability to prove on the field that you guys are deep goes a long way, and it definitely makes things difficult to scout against you guys.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we have that, and we'll go to we'll go and play a game with anybody on our roster at any given time, at any given place, and a lot of people say that, but I want to say that we're a program that have stepped up to that, and we have not made excuses. Look at people didn't know if we could bounce back from Zach Esau graduating, who's Conference Player of the Year, and I think we're better. Our offense is performing at a higher rate, and we've played 3 different quarterbacks for different reasons. But our guys have embraced that and just rallied together, and we've adapted as that's come along. And then we can't find someone in the NAIA that'll play us out of conference. People just refuse to respond back. So a Division II school reaches out to us and say, yeah, we'll go get it on and play in front of about 5,000. I think West Texas A&M is averaging like 5,000 to 7,000 people per home game, and in a beautiful stadium. And so, people say that all the time, but for us, we're going to be a program that stands behind, say what we mean and mean what we say. And so, when no one else wants to play you, even though you have a week 11 bye week, and is it perfect timing with playoff implications on the line? I don't know. But we want to go out in the field. We work too hard year round, and our players invest too much in the school and the program and all the year round working out to not take advantage of an 11th game if we're going to get it. And then, like you just talked about, the way these guys are practicing and JV games and all that. Anytime we can compete together, we're going to do it with whoever's available, whatever coach is available. If I couldn't have made it last week, we were going to go play. And we proved that over the COVID year. We did not sit out of any games, and we sought games when we had one canceled on us. And then we're going to do that moving forward as a program, and we want that to be, as it can sound. I hope it doesn't sound arrogant, but we do want to be a trademark of who we are, of where we will play anyone at any time. And so I think you see that with our kids. And that's why there's no panic if it's an injury or whatever happens. There's no panic and there's no flinch in our kids. We're going to go, we're going to go get it on with whatever that looks like. And so that, to me, is something that I'm extremely proud of, because you see so many examples of that not being the case. So as families, it's really a testament to the families of the kids that we have, because that comes from home and that's been developed over 18 years, and then they just get handed off to us, and we're just trying to build on that when they get here. So what a huge compliment to our parents, for sure.
And then the mission next becomes getting some more of those type of guys. And so I'm sure we were just talking about, you've been recruiting a little bit lately and everything, and so I'm sure that's a difficult balance with everything, and try to fill some pretty big shoes. But
sure.
So that's going to do it for our program this week. We thank everybody for tuning in, and we're glad to bring this to you each and every week when we try. When we can fit it in our schedules and everything. It's been it gets crazy when all these things kind of start overlapping at this time of year, and you get closer to the holiday season. But hopefully the Threshers can finish out the season very well, and we'll talk to you again next week again, as the Threshers will be on the road at St. Mary for a football game. They're kind of surprising people with some victories and with some competition as well. So until then, I'm Dan Page. He's Coach Terry Harrison. We'll see you next time, and roll on.